A couple of lectures ago, we saw a first React project in action, and we actually already worked on that first project. Now, as you might imagine, we're going to work on many React projects throughout this course, and of course, those projects, in order to work on them, first must be created. Now, I will say that whenever we're starting a new project in this course, I will provide a starting snapshot to you. You'll find it attached to the lecture where the project is created, and I will also let you know that attached you find such a starting snapshot. So you will be able to use these starting snapshots to get working React projects. Nonetheless, as a React developer, you should of course also know how you can create React projects on your own. And when it comes to that, you basically have two main options. You can either create projects locally on your system so that all the project files are created on your hard drive and any software needed to run that project is installed on your system. And therefore, of course, you also must install any tools or packages that are required to run a project, and you must have all these project files on your system. Or alternatively, you can go for a browser-based, a remote React project solution in the end, for example, with help of services like Code Sandbox, which is the service I also used earlier in this section for this first React project I showed you. When using such a remote solution, such a browser-based React project, you don't need to install anything on your local system, and you don't need to create any files on your local system. Instead, all the React project files, as well as any extra tools that might be required behind the scenes, will be provided and hosted by that remote project provider, so by Code Sandbox, for example. And when it comes to these project snapshots you find attached to the course, I will also always offer you both options. A zip file, which you can download as a local React project, or a Code Sandbox link that will take you directly to a React project running on Code Sandbox, so running in the browser, with which you can get started without installing anything on your system. Therefore, the great advantage of such a browser-based React project is of course that it's super fast to get started with it. The advantage of a local setup is that you have more configuration options. You can use exactly the code editor you want to use with exactly the settings and extensions you might want to use. And I, for example, prefer local React projects because I want that full control over them. In addition, when it comes to recording a course like this, recording those videos simply is easier with a local setup where I can arrange everything exactly as I want it to be arranged. But for following along, such a browser-based setup can definitely be a great alternative. There, though, you have to live with the general layout and configuration options that are given to you, and you have less control over the project setup and configuration. Now, in the next lecture, I will show you how you can create a brand new React project locally on your system, and therefore you can of course skip this lecture if you don't want to do that. In the lecture thereafter, I will do the same for the browser-based alternative, so for creating a project with Code Sandbox.